He goes there, maybe it should go, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer. And I was only 11, I had no idea what songwriting was about, but I just felt like the song wasn't mine. And maybe if I twisted the melody around, it would become something belonging to me. Actually, I shouldn't even be singing If I Had a Hammer, because that was a pretty boring lyric. So I found I'd written my first melody. But I had no idea what it was about, and I went to school, and it was Easter, and my teacher said, well, why don't you write something about the Easter experience? So my first song went something like, Jesus rode through Jericho on his way to the cross. He met blind Bartimaeus, who his sight had lost. Obviously not a great rhyme, I was destined for pop music. You know, I'm never quite sure what to write down when I'm asked what job I do. You know, am I a musician, an actor, writer, songwriter? So I'm a real slash person. But the bottom line is, I like making things. And that's the thing that we all have in common here. We all like to get up in the morning and make something that yesterday didn't exist. And that is a really thrilling thing to do. And that thing can be so incredible that it will live longer than you do. You know, hopefully some people in this room have already done that, some people are destined to do that. But it's the greatest thing about songwriting. And songwriting is also about ownership, for me, certainly. It's about claiming the music, owning the music. And certainly for me as a young boy, it's also a way of being on my own. Songs as friends. That is scary, actually, isn't it? In fact, the second song I wrote was called Alone, and I remember some of the lyrics. It went something like, my only friend's a sparrow, I see him in the morning, blah, 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 when day is dawning. And my mum was so worried about her maudlin son, she said she'd kill me if I played it to anybody. She passed away last year, I can tell you that story. So the idea of making something from nothing and it being yours is very powerful. You know, forging a melody with a lyric, and actually don't use the word forge, no, that's not good here. Making a melody and a lyric come together and it belonging to you, but also expressing the way you see the world and a particular aspect of it. And I think that's my most important advice, really, and that's that I think a song should be a snapshot of an emotion that you recognise, that hopefully you've lived through or you have something to do with. Not just a bland rehash of something you think might do well on an X Factor karaoke show. And I think a song should come from the heart, not from the bank manager. Although it's really good if the bank manager is whistling it later on. Certainly did happen to me a couple of times. I mean, one of the songs that I wrote was called True, and it was about an unrequited love affair that I was having. I think it's probably called stalking now. And I wanted to get that across in a song. I didn't really want this girl to know it was about her. And so the song became a song about writing that song. And one of the lines in it, which was well known, is well known now, is, why do I find it hard to write the next line when I want the truth to be said? You know, something we all experience at times. Another song I wrote, Spandau Through the Barricades, was directly influenced by a friend of mine who was killed in the Troubles out there. And when I had the experience of being taken by his brother down the Falls Road in Belfast to visit his grave. I mean, it wasn't actually about him, but it was about my experience in Belfast and what I took from it. I tell you all this because I think the songs I found hardest to find and hardest to finish are ones where I have this great melody and I think, oh, you know, this is amazing, and I keep singing la la la, and scrambled eggs or whatever, and then I just have no idea what it's about, and it never gets finished. So you know, I believe that a subject or a title should inspire a melody, and I think always try and find what the song is about before you start writing it. You should also remember to look for titles wherever you can. I was fortunate enough last year to have dinner with the great Paul Simon, and you know, I started asking him obviously what inspires him to write songs, where does he get his ideas from, and he actually said that one of the songs he wrote, one of his biggest ever hits, was inspired by a visit to the Chinese restaurant. And this is absolutely true. he was looking down the menu, wondering what to eat. He saw this great dish, and it was a dish made of chicken and egg, and it was called Mother and Child Reunion. Actually, I swear, it's true. Of course, I mostly write songs on my own. I do have more friends than that sparrow now. But I enjoyed collaboration in recent years. It was a great way of actually reforming a friendship that I'd lost within my old band. You know, giving someone a call and saying, let's write a song together. I think it's a great bonding thing that can go on between two people when you make something. And that's a fairly easy process of handing the baton around. You know, when you're a bit tired of the piano and the other person's all sparky, and then vice versa. It's much harder when there are three people in the room. I mean, hip-hop records are made by whole communities, you know, how they divide that publishing up would be dreadful. But it's, you'll always find that there's one person who will do less than the other two. It's inevitable. But I think it's worth remembering that no matter how little that person contributes, they are in the room and inspiring the thought process in the room, and you know, even if it's just as a sounding board, or even if it's just the way they slurp their coffee, and slurp their coffee, and dunk their biscuits. It's worth organising the splits on the publishing before you make a coffee. The usual form, of course, is that someone does lyrics and someone does the music. And actually, I want to tell you a story that the great lyricist Barry Mason told me. He famously wrote, you know, "Last Waltz with You," I mean, real classic song there. Then he was out shopping one day, and there's this guy standing outside a supermarket waiting for his wife or something, and he was whistling Delilah, you know, the Tom Jones song. And Barry thought, "Excuse me, mate, I've got to tell you, I'm Barry Mason. I wrote that song." I thought Les Reed wrote that song. Well, no, Les wrote the music and I wrote the lyrics. And the guy said, "I wasn't whistling the fucking lyrics." Just to remind all you lyricists only, brutal truth. You know, I'd like to finish by publicising, I mean, reading from my book. Just a little excerpt, because it's still available, by the way. Amazon. Good shops. It's about the songwriter's dream. It's when you get your first cut. But I was 11 at the time, and I'd only written one song. That weekend, Dad drove me and my guitar to Waterloo Station. In the novel Brighton Rock, the anti-hero Pinky records a nasty message for the innocent Rose in an acetate booth at a railway station. The booths were the size of telephone boxes, and once inside, you'd pop a coin in a slot, and through a window you'd watch a smooth acetate disc being lowered onto a turntable. A needle landed, and as you spoke, your voice would be etched into the disc's soft blankness. When finished, the disc would slide out, equipped with an envelope for you to post it to a loved one, or in Pinky's case, not so loved. In 1971, on the concourse of Waterloo Station, stood what must have been the last booth in London. The telephone now being ubiquitous, except of course in our house, where we'd have to wait another 4 years for that modern pleasure. I slipped the plastic bag off my guitar, and holding it ready to play, stepped into the booth. "Dad, my guitar won't fit in." "Go on, I've got to shut the door, you'll be all right." He lifted the guitar gently, and I bent sideways about 90 degrees. The guitar's arm was now facing downwards. Dad carefully closed the door, and I shuffled farther in. "Hang on," he said, opening again, I've got to put the money in." His arm reached through, and the door banged against the front of my guitar as I pressed tighter against the opposite wall. "Okay, it's ready. Wait for the light. It lasts a minute." A minute. How long was my song? He closed the airlock and it went silent. I saw the fresh black disc drop and the needle approach its edge. The red light went on and I looked outside at Dad, who was mouthing, "Come on," through the glass. I began strumming. his way to the cross. The station was busy with Easter trippers, and I was aware of people glancing at us while I sang and Dad proudly guarded his young artist's recording studio. I reached the final verse and saw that the needle was only a few revolutions away from the end of the disc. I sped up, trying to fit it all in. Met by Bartimaeus, who was sight out lost. The final bars were now frantic, and then the light went off. The needle lifted, and the disc whirred and started its sedate little journey towards the exit hole. I hadn't quite finished. Nevertheless, I'd made my first record. It felt warm and smelt of summer pavements. I clutched it all the way home in the car, staring at its grooves and wondering at the fine impression my song had made. I played it over and over on my parents' gramophone until its tiny trenches ploughed that Easter weekend on Waterloo Station, wore into each other, and my voice became a soft shadow, receding into the distance, until eventually I was gone. And I am about to go, but just to say that songwriting has made my life. It's given me therapy when I needed it most. It's given me the ability to see the world. It's given me a small role in pop history. It's given me joy, a beautiful house, a comfortable life, probably even my wife, and it's given me a court case with costs of over £500,000. Hopefully you can avoid the last, but get to experience some of the rest, and maybe it will even start here. Don't rush to the Chinese restaurant. I've checked, there are no good titles on the menu.